Okay. So one more time. So we have these are the three shittas. The three shittas that we were discussing were the shittas of Reb Meir and Rabbanan and Reb Shimon. Three areas: Gag, Chotzer, Karfif. Reb Meir says you can't go from one to the other. Within itself, you could. So Gag, as long as it's a Gag, even if it's different people, you can carry from one to the other. Chotzer, Karfif, but not together. Rabbanan said two checks, Gag and Chotzer check. X doesn't. And Shimon Shita, who is the halacha like him, says you can go from a Gag to a Chotzer to a Karfif. Thus, all the checks, all the boxes checked because they're all the same. That you're able to do that. We said, however, we have machlokus in Reb Shimon Shita. We have machlokus Amarayim between Rav and Shmuel and Reb Yochanan. Rav says, when does Reb Shimon allow you to go to carry something from a chatzah to a gag to a karfif? Only a kli that was in there erev Shabbos. If the kli was in the house, you would not be able to take it out of the house and carry it. Therefore, says Rav, the din is only stated when you didn't make an erev. But if you made an erev, and consequently, as a result of the erev, the possibility exists to take out a kli from the house to the chutzner, right? Then you'd have in your chutzner, you'd have two kalim. They could be both the same. One you'd be able to transport, and one you won't. If it was there erev Shabbos, you could transport it. If it came out from the house, you would not be. Therefore, Rav said, we're making a carte blanche halacha, no erev. Then you could, because they're all the same status. But if there's an erev, not. Said Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, no. Said Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, no. That even if there's an erev, we're not making that gezerah, that you may come to carry ones that were in the house. And in fact, Rav Shimon would hold that you could carry, despite the fact that you did make an erev, and you may have kalim that were in the house. Along the way, we asked the question. We're going through a long-winded brisa, and the brisa seemed to say that in the mavi it's mutter. We're holding at Amar Rav. We're holding Amar Mar. We're holding at Sadik Aleph on the base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines up. Amar Mar. Ubamavi Aser. Now it's mashma. If you did make an erev, you can't carry in the mavoi at all. Fred the Gemara, let's say this apparently is a proof to Reb Zera, Amarav. Reb Zera Amarav, mavoi shlein nishtat fubai, a mavi that you did not make a sheet of mavois, a mavi that you did not go ahead and make a sheet of mavois, meaning that you're not allowed to go from the chutzah to the mavoi. The kalim that are in there, you'd be limited to 4 amis. In other words, it would be Shwish Shalom Kagan. What would it be, Shalom? It would be a Carmelist, right? 4 amis, that din of a Carmelist. Because it says, the Mavi Yasser, Mashma, the kalim that are in the Mavi are Rasa. Let's say it's a proof. Again, you have a Tanoic proof to the Amoira of Rav. And for the Gemara, you have no proof. Ema, don't say in the Mavi is Asar, say Ule Mavi Asar. From the chatzah to the mavoi or biyasa. It doesn't mean you can't carry in the mavoi. It means you can't carry from the chatzah to the mavoi. But the mavoi you would be able to carry. So you have no proof. For the Gemara, if that's the case, Hainu Reisha, that's the exact same case as the Reisha of the Brisa. When it says Mishnah Yisrael Tzrichli, we need this extra mavoi yasser. Ma'u detema ki pligi Rabbanan led Reb Shimon. When did the Rabbanan argue Reb Shimon that you cannot go from one rishus to another rishus? Hanimile hecha de irvu. That's dafka where you made an erev and some people might come out of the house. But where you didn't make an erev, I might think they're moded to Reb Shimon that any kli that's in the outside you could transport from a chatzah to a gag or to a karfif. Modele kamash malon that you can't go from the chatzah to the mavoi even if you didn't make an erev. That's the chiddush. Amar Ravina Ravashi says Ravina to Ravashi, Mi Amar Amar Aleph, Mi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hachi. Does Rabbi Yochanan say A, the halacha is like Reb Shimon, and the halacha is like Reb Shimon, and B, does he say that not only is the halacha like Reb Shimon, fellas, but even if you made an erev, 2 steps. The halacha is like Reb Shimon, you go check off the boxes, Gag, Chutz, Karfif, either one. And a bigger chiddush, even if the possibility exists that you're going to have kalim that came out of the house, right? Because Reb Shimon only said you can only use the keli that was in the chutzner. Even the possibility exists. Why does it exist? Because you made an erev. So you have an erev, you have a shus to take from your house to the chutzner. In that case, maybe what? Rav said it was asa. Rabbi Yochanan says it's mutter. Fred the Gemara, does Rabbi Yochanan really say it's mutter? So we're questioning Rabbi Yochanan. Again, Rabbi Yochanan's din that he says even if you make an erev, Rav Shimon holds that. We're going to question that. From where? From a Gemara we had before. The nice thing about this parak is a lot of the asaidas that we've gone through Masechta Eruvin. Once you know them, you could appreciate the parak. And Bez Hashem, even we get to the next Mishnah, it'll even be more so. For Hamer Rabbi Yochanan, halacha kistam Mishnah. We've said this many times. It's in this Masechta at least 2 or 3 times. The Astam Mishnah, an anonymous Mishnah, was Rebbe's way of saying that halacha is like so and so by saying it anonymously. We say Stam Mishnah is Meir, right? And sometimes Stam Mishnah is somebody else. So the halacha is like a Stam Mishnah. V'tnan, what's a Stam Mishnah? Koisel shebein shtei chatzeros. You have a wall that's between 2 chatzeros, and they didn't make a eruv between themselves because the wall is being mafsik. If you remember, if the wall is 10 tefachim high, they don't have the option of making a communal eruv. They have to say zula atzmo v'zula atzmo. So we're dealing in a scenario where you have what? One chutzner and another chutzner with an inability to make an eruv because right now there's a wall there, and it happens to be 4 tefachim wide, which makes it its own rishus. Again, the height of the wall makes it separates a barrier between the chatzeros. If it's 4 tefachim wide, it makes it a rishus hayachid, right? And there you won't be able to do the following: asara, gavoy asara if it's 10 high. If you're roichiv arba and it's 4 tefachim wide, ma'arvin shnayim, right? They have to make 2 separate eruvim wide because it's 10 tefachim high. They have arvin echad and they can't make an eruv together. Simple. Paris. However, if there was on the top Paris, elu oilim mikan v'oichlin, the elu oilim mikan v'oichlin. Good. They can go up there and go ahead and eat it. They can eat it where? Up there. Ubilvad shelo yoridu lemata. Provided that you don't bring it down below. Provided that you don't bring it down below. Now, what's the problem going from the top of the wall to below? You're going from a chutzner to a chutzner. You're going from one rishus to another rishus, right? What does Rav Shimon hold? You could, yes. What does Rabbi Yochanan hold? Rav Shimon holds in any scenario you could, whether you made an eruv or you did make an eruv. So you got a problem like Rabbi Yochanan. You're not allowed to take it off the top of the wall and bring it down. But like you, Rabbi Yochanan, you should be able to. You should be able to. There's no reason you should, even though it's 2 separate rishuyos, you hold that what, no matter what, whether it's made an eruv or didn't make an eruv. Bishleim, according to Rav, I can say this Mishnah speaking where you made an eruv. And where does Rav Shimon say is then? Where you did make an eruv. I can be machalik. But according to you, Rabbi Yochanan, that Rabbi Shimon says in any scenario, why in the world over here can't you go ahead and take it down? You're going from one rishus to another rishus? You hold like Rabbi Shimon. You can go from the gad to the chutzah, the karfet. And even when you make an eruv, you can go. So Fred the Gemara, strong kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. Very strong kasha. Look at Rashi, guys. 2 lines from the top. Ubavad shlo yerida lamata. Alma asa lahotzi mechatza l'chaverasa. You can't go from one chatzah to the other. Again, the top of the wall is considered a chatzah. If you say like Rav, the Ervu, it's asa. Ukimna, we can establish laha to this scenario, ve'eruvai. This is not Mishnah speaking where you made an Erev. Aval hashta b'mayim tukma. But now that you told me that even if you make an Erev, you're able to, how in the world is Rabbi Yochanan shot this Mishnah? Very strong kasha. And for the Gemara, I'll tell you how. My lamata, when it says lamata, it doesn't mean you can't bring it down into your rishus. You could. Lamata means lamata lebotim. You can't bring it into your house. That you can't do. From there, from the gag to the chutzner, I can go. From a chutzner to a chutzner, I can go. But I can't go from a chutzner into the house. So let's hear pshat. Go back to the second line of the Mishnah. Second line of the Gemara. Koisel shebein shtei chatzeros givoya asor v'roichiv arba ma'arvin shnayim ve'marvin echad hay b'roishay peris ilo mikan v'oichlin ve'ilo mikan v'oichlin u'bavad shlo yiri lemata into your house. Just say the word shlo yiri lemata into your house. Then it won't be shver. Then it won't be shver because we're not speaking about. You could go from one chatzah to the other because that's what Rabbi Yochanan holds. You can't take it into your house. So now this Stam Mishnah is not shver according to Rabbi Yochanan. You guys good? Good? Okay. Says that now. Fred Gemara Vatani Reb Chia. Reb Chia was a generation after Rebbe. Or he boarded the Tanoim and the Amoraim. He was Rav's uncle. When the Gemara says Chavivi, Rav says Chavivi, it means Reb Chia. So it says Rav Tanu Upolik. So Reb Chia was like that boundary. He was like a Tana. He was like a Tana. So now he learned Pshat in this place. So Tani Reb Chia, Ubilvad, let's change Ubilvad Sheyehei. Rashi has two gear slice. Ubilvad Sheyehei Zeh Oimi B'mkomo V'oichel. V'zeh Oimi B'mkomo Oichel. Mashmi, he's got to stay and eat on top of the wall. So how can you tell me it's speaking where you tackle that or bring it down? It says over here you have to eat at the top of the wall. Amalei. So he said to him, V'chi Rebbe Leishana. If Rebbe did not learn in the Mishnah, Rabbi min alei, where would he go ahead and know it from? So Rav Ashi told Ravina, where would he know it from? Rebbe was authoritative. Rabbi Chia is quoting a brisa. Rebbe's words in the Mishnah, guys, was what? Shlo yarida lamata. And the words lamata to the house make sense. The word lamata, but stand in your place and eat, don't make sense. That's a total different word. Lamata, I could say lamata to where? To the house. To go ahead and say lamata to stand and eat in your place, that I can't. So therefore, it's not correct. Itmar, shtei chatzeres v'churva. Okay, let's bring out the chart. I know how to do this now. You see that I switched between that and that. I finally took me to home the Sefta, but I finally got it. Okay, here's the picture. You got two houses, two chatzerim, 4 houses, 2 chatzerim, and you have a churva in between. So the churva has a din of a chatzer. It's not a great chatzer, but it's a chatzer. This one made an Eruv, and this one didn't. This one made an Eruv, and this one didn't. What's the halacha? Can anyone go and use this chatzer? Can anyone go ahead and use the churva? Can this guy who made an Eruv carry his kalim into there? And this one who didn't can carry his kalim into there. Right now, remember, this goes along with the din of chatzer l'chatzer, correct? This is the din. This is Rav Shimon's din. We're going according to the sheets of Rav Shimon. So now, shtei chatzeros v'churva achas b'neihem. You got 2 chatzeros and a churva between them. Achas irva, with one of the chatzerim you made an eruv. The achas la irva, and the other one you didn't. So I'm Rav Huna, says Rav Huna, noisna ma'isa lezu shalai irva. You give it to the one that you did make an eruv. Why? Because again, for sure if you didn't make an eruv, those kalim were in the chatzah before Shabbos, guys. Remember, what's the key? The kalim were in the chatzah before Shabbos. So since they were there, you can bring it. Rav Shimon only said his din on kalim that were in. So if you didn't make an eruv, where would this kalim coming from? It can't come from the house. I didn't make an eruv. I'm not permitted to take it from the house. So it must be that what they were in there beforehand. But the one not. So in that scenario again, this is the rule of thumb in this Yisoid, Rav Shimon. I can take from here to here because I know since I didn't make an eruv, any kalim that are in this area would have been there before Shabbos. Rav Shimon only says his din on kalim that sheshifta b'saychay. On the other hand, this one it could be on Shabbos the kalim came out. Since the kalim came out on Shabbos, you won't be able to take it from here to there. So therefore, that's according to this. That in other words, this would be along. This is Rav Shimon Shita. We're just filling in the blanks. Good. Now, Dilma, and this is Shita's Rav. So Rav Huna, nice to myself. Now this is Shita's Rav, and Rashi points out, guys, who is Rav Huna? Rav Huna Rav. Rav Huna was Rav's Talmud Muvik. So Rav Huna is saying his din in the Shita of Rav. Like Rabbi Yochanan and like Shmuel, apparently this would be a different din because they said I feel if you made an eruv, you could carry. So this din is said, Rav Huna's din is said uniquely according to the opinion of his Rebbe Rav, who holds that Shimon only said his din when you didn't make an eruv. So the one that didn't make an eruv can use the churva. The one that didn't make the eruv cannot. Okay, back in the Gemara. What are you worried about? You may come to go ahead and take the manam of the bottom into the churva. That's what we're worried about. V'chia barav Amar. Now Chia said the name of his father, obviously named him after his uncle, right? V'chia barav, it's Rav's son. Amar af l'she'irva, even to the one that made the Erev. Now, there's two possibilities. Even the one that made to the Erev, and as a result, they're both Asr, or even to the one they said to the Erev, and they're both Mutter. We're going to see 2 days. Again, even to that one. Now, what does that mean? Even to that one, and they're both Asr to use the Churva, or even to that one, and they're both Mutter to use the Churva. Ushteyem Asurais. And what are they? They're both Asr. They're both Asr. Okay? They're both Asr. Look at Rashi, very interesting Rashi. Right parallel to this. I heard from my daddy, from my Abba. It's very funny. You know, Rav's name was Abba Richter. That was his name. I wonder if we call Abba because of Rav. His name was Abba. So when it says over here, Anishmati mi Abba, he means from his father. He's not calling his father Abba. He's not calling his father by his first name. It's just it's just, you know, one of these unique little ditties of information that Yehuda Horowitz loves. Right?
It should be a good to better.
Yeah. Now, Anishmati mi Abba, af l'she'irva. Even when the one that made an Erev, Noisnem I saw, umidati ani mefarish. My father said, af l'she'irva, and I, Chia, am adding the Haida Ama Abba af l'she'irva, lesser ashtem kamar. I'm adding, he meant to Aser. The Gaza lo irvu otu irvu, because we're going to, the imafke, hani legavo, hani nami yasi imafke. In other words, this is very geschmack. Let's go. We both can go, but if we let this one, then this one may come. So therefore, as a result of this one being able to use it, and we don't want these kalim in here, we won't even let this one use it. So therefore now they're both asr. Therefore now they're both asr. It's a gezerah. It's a gezerah. Stam, it seems like a gezerah. Look, gezerah. You see the rest yourself. So right now, okay, that's in Taimar. If you're going to say shtei mutaros, now if they're both mutar, if they ma'ain noisem chatza shloi irva lechatza she'irva, right? Now the Gemara says if that's the case, if they're both mutar, why was you have one chatza that you made an erev and the other one you didn't? Why can't you carry from one chatza to the other one? Now we know, guys. Watch. We know the following. If these were two chatzerim and one made an erev and one didn't, you won't be able to go from one to the other. So what are you going to say? They're both mutter? If they're both mutter in here, then what's the difference? This guy who made an erev goes to the schatzer. This one who did make an erev goes to the schatzer. We know that if they don't make an erev, they won't be able to carry. So now, because it's a churva, you make them carry. So therefore, says Rav Chia, it makes sense to me in Svara when my father said, he meant both are asa. Because if he meant both are mutter, then he should allow from one chatzah to another chatzah, which we know is not allowed. So therefore, that's what makes sense to me. Back in the Gemara, no, I'll tell you the proof is not a proof. I can make a chilik between a chatzah and a churva. Hasam by a chatzah. Kivin and menatre mane the bottom b'chatzah. Since because of the mechitzas around the chatzar, it gives security to my kalim. Asilafuke, are you going to come to take them out? In other words, why are we concerned? We're concerned a person who did make the erev. We're concerned he may take the kalim and put it in a place where he's not allowed to because it's watched. Hacha bechorva kimid lemenatri mane the chatzar bechorva leasilafuke. So maybe taka is muta. Maybe taka, guys, over here, there's no reason to make a gezerah. There's no way in the world. What? You can be guys that these guys can't use it over here. Maybe taka means they're both muta. And both asa. What's the asa? Guys, why is it asa? Because this guy, since these guys can use it, this guy will come to use it. No. I'm not worried this guy's going to come to use it. It's not watched in here. So there's no reason for him to take fine kalim and put it in here. Mashenkin, if it was a watched chatzar, then we'd have to worry that maybe he's going to go ahead and put this kalim in there. So I can make a distinction why churva it should be muta, because there's no reason to make a gezerah. Mashenkin chatzar is asa. Okay, that's one way to learn. And now in the Ikadi army, we're talking to learn, they're both muta. Ikadi army, Chia bar Avama, After She'ervu, Ushtein Mutaris. Rav said even to the one that's what may be Erev, and he meant both are muta. In time, you'll ask Shtei Masurais Lefishay, Noistam Chatza, Shlei Ervu Lechatza She'erva. There's a difference between a Chatza that Erva and Chatza Le'erva. That is Haslam, Kiva the Menachri Mane, since by a Chatza they're watched, but the guy's going to go ahead and take them out. And therefore we make a Gezerah. The Asdafuke, Avu Bechurva, Loy Mintri. The Churva, they're not worried, therefore they didn't make a Gezerah, and therefore they both be Mutta. So again, in this Lashon, they're both Mutta, in the first Lashon, they're both Asa. And just remember, that's Chaz Riba. Again, the Shita of Shimon, the Shita is, this is a big thing in Eruvin, this Shita over here. This din of Rav Shimon, this, and this, provided, according to Rav, that you didn't make an Erev. Because if you did make an Erev, it's a problem. It's a problem. Now be aware that even though Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Shimon and Rabbi Yochanan and Shmuel, they both said over here, even if you don't made an Erev, it's muta. But they would here be moided the Shita of Meya and Rabbanon that even that no, only if you didn't make an Erev. Because the Gezer is only according to Rav Shimon. Because guys, what did Rav Shimon say yesterday? Just like remember we had three chatzeros, A, B, and C. And Rav Shimon said if they make an Erev together, then A can go to B and B can go to C, but and C can go to B and A can go to B, but A and C can't go to each other. So why aren't you worried that if A goes to B, that may eventually end up by C? So that was Rav Shimon. Since Rav Shimon said that, we're not geyser, therefore we're not geyser by what? By Rav Shimon. But like the Rabbanan and Rameya, it doesn't say that. They never had the heter of going from one chatzah to another chatzah. So according to them, even Rabbi Yochanan and Shmuel both be moida, then in fact it would be asa if you didn't make an erev. If you made an erev, it would be asa. Okay, one of the most famous pictures we had in this Masechta, guys, was picture 69 in the first parak. It was the Chatzah Gedola and the Chatzah Ketana. Right, the Chatzah Gedola to the Chatzah Ketana. We've seen this. We've seen this in many forms. We've seen this in many forms. Here it is. Now we see it as a rooftop. We see it as a rooftop, and this is we if you're standing over here, this is the Gad Gedola. This is the Gad Ketana. Now, this over here and here make this a Pesach for here. So if they didn't make an Erev together, he's muta in here to carry. Conversely, he can't carry. Why? Because he is open to a makam sha'asalai. He's open to the place that's asa. This is we've had this. Oh, I'm not going all the way back there. This is this picture. This picture that we had. Remember, I hacked this picture all the time. It's the Chatzah Gedola. It opened up. Here it is. You have the Gifufim. You have the two sides. It's a Pesach. This picture and this picture are synonymous. Just one is the rooftop and one is the Chatzah. It's this picture over here. It's the same picture, 69, but now it's not as colorful. So here it is over here. So the same halacha. Over here, this would be mutta, this would be asa. And the same reason, since this has these gifufim, these side posts, this is considered a pesach for here. This is asa because it's open b'makam maloa. And this is something we've had endless times. And
the curva wall doesn't make a difference.
What?
That curva wall from the first case doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't make a difference. It's parts b'maloa. Now, if they made an Erev together, it would be good. Over there, the parts wall made, that's why they couldn't have made an Erev together, Shalom, because they wasn't open. It was a closed wall. They couldn't have possibly made an Erev. Okay? So now, Gag Gadol Samach L'Katan. You have a Gag Gadol, says the Mishnah, that's Samach L'Katan. Mutter, it's mutter to carry in the gadol. Hagadol mutter, katinasa. Again, the gadol is mutter because of the gifufim, because of the side posts. It makes the chatzah, the small one, a pesach. Conversely, over here, the chatzah katana is also, because it's parrots to the chatzah gedayla, and then they make an eruv. Chatzah gedayla, that was by the gag. Same halacha. Chatzah gedayla shnifritza, the katana, that's parrots to katana. Gedayla muteres to katana asur v'nei, she could piska shel gedayla. Obvious question. Normally, Mr. Tati, why do you have to go ahead and learn what? Two things. Apparently, the same. You repeated the same halacha, right? One on a rooftop and one on a chatzah. Says right. Says L'Rav Katani Gag Dum Yid Chatzah. According to Rav, who holds fellas, that one rooftop to another rooftop, you don't say good asik because it's not a chatzah nimkeres. You might remember this, right? In this picture, according to Rav, you wouldn't say good asik over here, right? You wouldn't say good asik over here because since it's not nikeres over here, it's not recognizable over here. It's recognizable over here where you put up the walls. It is recognizable, right? You can recognize these walls. We'll say good asik over here. We'll say good asik over here, but we won't say good asik over here because you don't have the wall below is not recognizable. So since you didn't say good asik over here, so what's the chiddush according to Rav? It says well, the Rav Katani Gag Dam Yid Chatzah. Just like a chatzah, the walls are recognizable. Av gag nami minkur michitzasa. So to gag, it has to be that the walls are recognizable. It has to be that you recognize the walls. Okay. The Shmuel gag domi the chatzah, machatza the kodarsu l'rabim, av gag nami the kodarsu l'rabim. Very geschmack, guys. According to Shmuel, do we say good asik over here? Yeah, we say good asik, correct? So if we say good asik and I have a wall over here, why can't they carry? Picture an imaginary wall going from the aleph to an aleph, correct? This would be mutta over here, correct? This would be mutta. So why in the world is wide as it awesome? So the answer is, since people walk over this, it's a wall that's nidreses. So therefore it destroys the wall. That's the chiddush over here. Says the Gemara, just like a chatzah. According to Shmuel, the chiddush is gag dumi the chatzah. Ma chatzah the kadarsi l'rabim. Just like a chatzah, people walk. Af gag nami, it must be kidasi b'rabim. It must be people walk. So in other words, if no one walks here, it would be mutta. If no one walks here, if no one would walk there, fellas, it would be mutta because it's, even though you say good asik, this virtual wall, by people walking over it, it ends its virtuality. Right? It doesn't exist anymore. Yosef Rabba, Rab Zeira, Rabba, Rab Chana, Yosef Abaya Gabayu, Rabba and Rab Zeira, and Rabba Barav Chana was sitting, and Abaya the Rosh Hashiv was sitting there, and he was listening to the conversation. Yosef Kamri, Shma Minom Masnison. We hear from our Mishnah that the katana is asar. Diorin gedoyla v'katana vein diorin katana v'gedoyla. We're going to schlep the katana after the gedoyla. We won't schlep the gedoyla after the katana. We're going to give 4 or 5 scenarios of halachic differences between where you are in the gedoyla and the katana. Way back when, way back when. I mean, this is early on, like Daf Yomi early on. I mean, this is like really early on. You might remember this. The patch, the Kalayim patch, right? And what do we learn from there? That if you have a distance of, if something's called a kerem, to plant something else, you have to distance 4 amas. If it's not called a kerem, meaning it doesn't have a shem keren, then it can be 6 tfachim. And if you have a wall, you can plant on both sides of the wall. Good? Let's take that halacha and the idea of kalayim now and place it in the parameters of our chatzah or our rooftop. What the chatzah gedoyla chatzah katana. Listen to this. Ketzad gefanim b'gedoyla. You have the gefanim. The vineyard is in the big chatzah. Asal is royas the katana. Since the katana is schlepped after the gedoyla, right? You can't plant. You can't plant in the katana. Why? Because it's klei kerem. because the katana is schlepped after the gedola. And you want to hear a chiddush nifl? Look at Rashi, guys. 3 lines from the bottom. Asl is where it's a katana. The kimanda havi katana kula b'toich gedola. We're going to view the katana if it's totally encapsulated within the gedola. Dummy. Va'afilu marchik arba amis min hagafanim. And even if you're going to distance 4 amis, which usually is enough to subvert the problem of klei keren, shafilu b'toich gedola mutar lahachik l'zraya. In the gedola, if you would plant the geffen 4 amis away, it would be good. Hacha asa. Here will be asa. The ketani maslisan v'nei pischa shel gedola. Alma kula kechat pischa mashkelei. The whole katana is like a pesach, so you wouldn't be able to even plant within 4 amis. Such a chumrah, So gedola, the katana schleps after the gedola. You can't. If the gefanim are in the gedola, you can't plant in the katana even 4 amis. In zera, if you do plant zara nesurim derasa, and gefanim mutarim, the gefen will be mutar. Gefanim b'katana. If the gefanim are in the small one, mutar l'zrayas gedola, you can plant in the gedola because again it doesn't go after it. That's one halacha. We know halacha of hilchos get sefer krisis v'nasan biyada, that you write a get, you give it to your wife. In Perek HaZayrik, the Gemara knows that a chatzar can be kaina for a woman. If you put it in a chatzar, you can be kaina. There's a daya that only if she's standing in there, and we're going to go with that daya. So listen to this. You have a woman who has the same scenario. She owns 2 chatzerim, one a gedola, one a katana, with the same configuration of the katana being asr and the gedola being mutar. Good. Isha begedola, if she's standing in the gedola, the get bekatana, then miskareshes. She's divorced. Because as if, what? She's standing where the get goes. Again, we're going with the daya, she has to be standing where the get is given. So even though the get is given to the katana, since she's standing in the gedola, and we're going to view the katana as the pesach of the gedola, we're going to put the whole thing encapsulated in the gedola, it's as if she's standing there when the husband gives it. Conversely, isha b'katana, if she's in the small one, the get b'gedola, then any miskareshes. Why? Because she's not standing where the get is. Because they would go after the gedola is where the get is. She was standing, but she's not standing in the gedola. Siba regarding being mitzi a person shmona esrei. Siba b'getayla. The Siba is standing in the large one. Ushliach Siba b'katana. Yaitzi yidei chavasan. It's if what he's standing with them. Conversely, Siba b'katana ushliach b'Siba b'getayla and yaitzi yidei chavasan. So we have 2 halachas so far, 3 halachas so far, right? 1 of kalayim, 2 of gittin, 3 of arachayim. So you get arachayim, Eben Ezra, and Zroyim. We got Yeridea, so we got 3. We got 3 out of the 4. Tisha b'gedola v'yachid b'katana. You got 9 in the gedola and the yachid b'katana. We need a minyan, mitztarfin. However, Tisha b'katana v'yachid b'gedola ain't mitztarfin. Next halacha, tsoya b'gedola. If you have excrement in the big one, you're not letting kriya shema. Also likros kriya shema, right? Then it's also letting kriya shema. The b'katana in the katana, because the katana slept after it. Now, this is provided you can't smell, guys. This is, in other words, if you can smell it, forget about it. We're saying the following: the tsoya is in the gedola, and you're in the katana, and you can't smell it. If we view the katana as being part of the gedola, then you're going to be within dalat amis of the tsoya. Tsoya b'katana. Conversely, if the tsoya is in the katana, mutar likros v'kriya shema b'gedola. So that's it. That's it. So mamish these halachas. Okay. Amalo abaya imkain. If you're going to tell me that what? That the gifufim, the walls over there, I'll go ahead and asa, the asa imkain, matzina mechitza leisar. Shalmoli ein mechitza, machet dalet amis v'zareya. These mechitzas over here, I wonder if I didn't see further if they're gonna. Okay, we'll be there in a second. These mechitzas, right? They come into Aser because that makes this the Pesach, and therefore you can't plant. If these mechitzas weren't here, the olives weren't here, then what? Then you would be able to plant in the Ketana. Says Abaya, Metzina mechitza le'iser. We find a mechitza that it asses. Shel mole, if not for, again, these mechitzas, a mechitza machik dal ramis, v'zareya, you go ahead and machik dal ramis, v'zareya, v'ila hashta asura. Somewhere, v'zareya l'abaya, v'le metzina mechitza le'iser, what's the big spitz? V'tanan, chatza gedoyla shenifetza l'ketana. Guys, this case, look, chatza gedoyla shenifetza l'ketana, right? Gedoyla muteres l'ketana asura, v'fnei shekepiska shel gedoyla. Right? So now, what happens if you would do this? The ilu hishva, if you would go ahead and hishva eskefifa seha gedalinami asura. You went ahead, you took walls, and you built walls up here. Good? You built walls up here, yeah? So now, what happens? The Chatzah Katana was asur by extending these walls, guys. What's the din of Chatzah Gedayla? It's now open to a place that it make an Eruv with. So this would also, so Seder of Zeret Rabbi, what are you losing sleep? You're telling me that these olives, asa, because if they weren't there, you'd be able to plant? Go, what are you talking about? Look, here's mechitzis and they're asering, right? If the olives were there, it will be a Pesach. By making it like this now, it's all even. So now this is just like this is asa, this is asa. There's no Pesach anymore. So you see that mechitzas base, they can go ahead and aser. Says the word, no. Amalei chasam silach mechitzas hu. You know why it's asa, guys? Because you removed the mechitzas, not because you built the base. It's because we removed the aleph. What made this? What made chatzah? What made you able to carry there, guys? What made you able to carry there? The fact that this has posts. So this post is like a gedayla. If I go ahead and extend it, it's not the walls that made the yisr, it's the removal of this that made the yisr. And Bez Hashem, we will continue here tomorrow.
Shkoyach.